G'day guys, Matt here from Rum Que. We're just down in the sunny Waikato at the Charmate HQ, and we're just going to run through a couple cooks today, starting with this corned beef here. So we were given this corned beef from Mike at Right Meat Market, and what we've done is we've soaked this overnight because it was brine, so we just got rid of some of the salt that's in there. Otherwise it's going to be too salty. So this is looking pretty good. I think all we need to do is just trim some of this white fat off here, and then we'll apply a rub and we'll get into the smoker. We're not going to take too much off. Fat's flavour, right? It's just that hard stuff. We've got rid of some of that hard fat. We left a little bit on. That's going to keep it nice and moist in the smoker, and it's going to add a little bit of flavour too at the end. I quite like to use a bit of mustard as a binder, and don't worry, if you don't like mustard, it doesn't matter, you're not going to taste it. And we're just going to come over, make sure we get an even coating, and we do want to use quite a bit of this because at the end, that's going to give that nice crust. It's going to be really yummy. Might put it in the fridge for an hour, and then I'll bring it back out an hour before we smoke it. Just get it up to room temperature, and then we can chuck it in the smoker. Probably take about 6 hours, I would say, but we'll come back to that later on. Right, today we're going to be cooking on the Charmate Grady. This is a traditional offset. You've got the firebox on one side, cooking chamber horizontally, and then you've got your stack on the other side. So the smoke and the heat just simply one direction and then out the stack. We're just running a little digital probe here because it's always nice to know what's going on at the grill surface. This guy's higher than where the meat's going to sit, so that's going to read a little bit higher as well. So it's good to have a bit of an idea what your temperature is, where the meat's going to be. And from what I can see, we've got two probes either side, and it's looking pretty stable, so it's not a bad little pit. In the firebox, we've got some lump charcoal. We just throw a couple of lumps in there. That's just a bit of cherry wood, so it's just going to smoulder away, a little bit of flavour. And we're going to put the corned beef or the pastrami up the cooler end. Ideal temperature is about that 275 to 300 mark. That's about it. We're going to let the smoke do its work for about sort of 4 hours, and we'll come back every hour and just make sure nothing's going wrong. Maybe give it a spritz if it needs it, but that's it. Okay, we're a few hours in now, so we're just going to have a bit of a look. It's looking pretty good. And then over here we've got pastrami. That's actually at a lower temp, so what we're going to do, just to speed this up a little bit, we might just shuffle him closer to the hotter end. Spritz. We'll just keep smoking this till it gets to about 165 Fahrenheit. We'll wrap this in some paper, some brown paper. Okay, so we're about 5 hours into the cook now. We've got a nice set bark on here. You can kind of feel it there, it's not coming off. But we're kind of at that stall now, so if I get an instant read thermometer, we're about that 155 Fahrenheit, 160, which is when the stall starts to happen. So what happens in the stall is the muscle starts releasing water and fluid to cool it down during the cook, just like we sweat when we work out. So that'll kind of sit in that stall for up to sort of 2 or 3 hours. So we can push through that stall. We're just going to use a bit of butcher's paper here today. Just wrap it up nice and tight. And then that's going to go back in the smoker like that. And that's probably going to cook for another 2 hours. And then we're going to cook it to about 205 Fahrenheit. We might just let that cool down so we can slice it for nice pastrami or for some Reubens later on. Okay, so the short rib and the pastrami's now been on it for about 6.5 hours. Pastrami's ready to go. So the internal temperature I'm looking for the pastrami is about 205, 206, so that's fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to let that cool down, and that'll be ready to go. Okay, so we've got the finished result now. We've got the corned beef, which is our Cheats Pastrami. We coated it with a slather of mustard. We put our rub on it. We basically smoked it naked, which means unwrapped, for about 4 hours or 5 hours. Then we wrapped it in some peach paper. We gave it another sort of hour and a half, and we got to the temperature that we wanted, which is 205, probing really nice. I've let that cool down a little bit just so it makes it easier to slice, and we'll see how we go. Perfect for slicing.